It's hard, and when I was a administrator through COVID, I saw we were one of the very few districts that stayed in school, and it was hard. It was
Yeah.
hard, and then, there were times, I'm being honest, that I said, "Am I keeping my teachers safe? Am I keeping these kids safe?" And taking these big machines and going through the school buses and doing things that I didn't know, and I just prayed every day, "God, I want the kids to learn," and some of our kids aren't eating if they're not at school.
Right. Yeah.
So it was really hard, but I remember telling the kids, you know, life is always going to throw things at us, and we're not exempt from suffering, and there's always going to be things that happen, and for us to model, this is really hard, and being honest and saying, "I'm scared, but we're going to get through this together and cope with it."
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Brighter Together podcast. My name is Janet Courtney, and my special guest today is Lisa Guilbeau. Lisa is the TAP director, and I'm going to let her tell you what that is, at Central Savannah River Regional Education Service Agency in Deering, Georgia. And I know there's an acronym for that, RESA. So, but Lisa, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here, Janet.
Awesome. So tell us what a TAP director does and give us a little bit of your background and a little bit about the RESA.
Sure. So I've taught for 25 years, and for 5 years, I was an administrator. And then I retired in 2022, or so I thought I retired. Um, and so I just 3 months after started working with the Georgia TAP program, which that stands for the Teacher Academy of Preparation and Pedagogy. So, for 2 years, I was a TAP supervisor, and then these last 2 years, I've been the TAP director. And basically, the TAP program is where you can enter the TAP program if you decide that you wanna be a teacher and that's your calling or your passion, and you are in another career. So we shift you from your career to the classroom. And to enter the program, you have to have a bachelor's degree, and it can be in anything. Then you decide, okay, this is what I want to teach. I want to teach math, middle school. Um, and then what we look at is some acceptance with transcripts, things like that. We do an interview. Um, what else? You also have to take the GACE content assessment. Now, we're governed by the PSC in Atlanta, the Professional Standards Commission in Atlanta, Georgia. And I love being governed, and having rules that we follow that keep us accountable. And the GACE content, um, when you graduate from the TAP program and achieve your teaching certification in the state of Georgia, you have to have passed the GACE content assessment. So if you're that passionate middle school math person, before you graduated, you had to take the GACE and pass that. Well, some of our candidates, when I started, they had not passed that assessment yet. They were working towards passing it in addition to doing the TAP program coursework that we provide. So that was
Okay.
one thing that I was pretty passionate about. I wanted our candidates to, of course, they have the bachelor's degree and they had the interview and fulfilled all the requirements, but they had to pass that GACE content assessment because we teach them pedagogy, how to teach. I can't teach
Right.
them middle school math because you can ask my high school geometry teacher, and she would say,
That's great.
or my college professor would say, "Please, Lord, do not let her teach math." So, but I know teaching and I know instructional strategies, so that, made me feel good about, that change, and it's worked out really well because what we don't want is that passionate middle school math teacher that can never pass that GACE,
Hmm.
and then they've spent money and gone through the program, but yet they cannot get their certification. But most important to me is that they have taught children middle school math without the content that they need for our kids to be successful in life. So that's how you get into the TAP program. And so once you have your GACE assessment, then you secure a teaching job. And when you go for an interview, they're going to say, well, are you enrolled at a university to get your certification? Maybe you're getting a master's degree, or our pathway is quicker, it's less expensive. You're not getting a degree, but you are getting your Georgia certification to
But
teach.
they have a degree already, right? Because you said that at the beginning. So tell me, for the GACE, is it like, every area, like it's just you have to have knowledge in a bunch of different areas, or is it specifically directed? Because I don't know. I remember taking a national exam that I had to take to be a teacher of the speech and hearing impaired in New New York 25 years ago. No, it's been 32 years ago now. Lie. Oh, anyway, long time ago. But is it which one or how is it set up, or what would one expect from that test?
That's a great question. So, back in the day, I was a social studies high school teacher. So when I took my assessment, which was called the TCT back in the day, I had to take 7 different, call it test within one test,
Mhm.
geography, US history, world history, psychology, sociology. There were 7 different ones I had to take. Now you have to take them all separate if you're a high school teacher. So math would be high school math, and it's generally 6 through 12. But if you wanna be an elementary teacher, then you take your K through 5 elementary education GACE.
Okay. Okay.
In our
So
uh,
it's designed based on what you're looking to be a teacher of.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. So if you're going to be an elementary school 3rd grade teacher, then it's probably every subject, or it touches on every subject, right?
Correct. It would be K
Okay.
through 5. And,
K
you
through
gotta
5.
be
Okay.
marketable too, and, um, you know, principals are gonna have to have the flexibility to move you, say, from 1st grade to 3rd grade based on
Right, 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 right. Yeah. Yeah, based on the needs. Although just getting somebody with a degree now and having their teaching certificate, holy moly, it's so hard to find teachers right now. So,
Yeah,
okay.
and,
So anyway,
yeah,
I stopped us. Let's go on. I apologize. I just wanted to make sure I understood what that included, and I'm sure others would have that question as well. So,
yes,
yeah.
yes. So once they when they go for their interview, to secure their teaching position,
Mhm.
the principal or whoever's interviewing them is going to say, "Are you enrolled in a program?" Whether that's at they may can go get a master's degree, which would grant them a
Mhm.
degree and a step in pay, or they
Yeah.
could go
Mhm.
through our program and get their teaching certification, and it accounts for 25% of the workforce, in Georgia, TAP does now.
Wow. Wow, that's
Because we
impressive. Congratulations.
Thank you, and they can finish the program in a year. It is a 2-year program set up by the PSC. However, it just depends on the candidate and life in general. If
Mhm.
small kids, but I would say 86% of our candidates finish in a year. And, time is money. It saves them money. And we gently push them a little bit to finish because we want them certified because, when they're certified, that affects student achievement directly.
Right. Now, do they have to do a student teaching? Is that part of the program?
That's a great question, actually. So I student taught back in the day, so I was traditionally trained. They cannot have had any student teaching to enter our program. So they get on the job training. where they begin teaching, and then we teach them the pedagogy, which is the same thing we did with student teaching. And part of our program, we have coursework that they take required by the PSC, the Exceptional Child Course. Georgia state law now has a literacy law where they have to take a literacy course. And now in Georgia, anyone moving forward as of June the 1st of 2025 to become certified, you have to pass the literacy gates. And so we provide that coursework. They do a online Canvas portfolio where they upload the assignments that we create. We also have them, our supervisors go out and observe them. We have an on-site mentor at their school that their principal and the TAP program work close. They're
Okay.
basically getting this huge circle of support, with ongoing feedback from so many people, which is another reason I love our TAP program because, you know, traditionally, you don't get that full circle of support, when you go the traditional route.
Yeah, yeah. Trial by fire, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
remember my first 6 years, I just remember thinking, "Lord, I know you called me to do this, I know you did." But,
yeah.
it was hard, and back then, you could my first year, teaching, I was put in an English classroom, and I was fresh out ready to teach social studies, but back then, you didn't have to be highly qualified, um,
Mm,
and so a lot of changes have happened for the good, but there were many years, and I tell the teachers all the time, "Don't give up." Because I'm so thankful. I know I was called to be a teacher, and
yeah.
I had the best 30 years of a great, great career. And I know the Lord called me there, but there were times when I wanted to give up.
Yeah. And he didn't let you leave.
He
He
did
said, "Okay, you can retire from that, but now we're gonna do this over here." And you're giving back. I mean, it's just a beautiful thing that you're doing because you're bringing up the next generation of teachers, which is so great, that they can do that. And I love the fact that, it's like, okay, I went into the workforce as take your pick. Maybe I'm a computer programmer, maybe I'm a whatever, because I thought that would make me happy and give me what I needed because I would make so much money. And then you realize you missed your calling and want to go back to school and want to serve kids. And you don't have to jump through all those hoops. That's fantastic. So when they come to you and they say they want to do this, how long is it from the time that they apply, if they check all the right boxes, before they would start in a classroom?
So when they apply to us, generally most of the time they go ahead and send transcripts. They send us everything for their bachelor's degree. They tell us what they want to teach. And most of the time, they have already secured a teaching position,
Ah,
and
okay,
the
okay.
HR then contacts us and says, "Has Lisa applied for the Georgia TAP?" And we look and we see, well, they've applied, that they were waiting on their position, and so we work very closely together. There are times though when they will fill out the application and then we will send them an email and say, everything is in order except for securing that teaching position. And as soon as you secure it, you are ready to enter our program.
So they already have to have a teaching position, and this is something that supports them as they're going through that to get their certification.
Yes, that's correct.
Interesting. Wow. Yeah. Yeah. So, how many would you say a year do you guys certify?
So right now, well, last year we had 86 in
Nice.
our program, and they graduated. Right now we have about 58 currently. But we run 2 cohorts a year. Some RESAs just run 1 cohort, but we run 2 mainly because I wanna support our districts. If they hire someone mid-year, which happens a lot, we wanna go ahead and get them in and get them supported and not give them that half a year without any support. So we run a cohort in January now and then the one in June. The one in June is always bigger, so I anticipate, like my secretary, Esther, just told me, she said, "Lisa, we have 41 candidates already signed up for June." So I anticipate, uh, close to 100, um, coming through this year.
Wow. Wow. So then in the summer, do you do programs in the summer to get them ready for the fall then?
Yes, so the summer is it's like our big kickoff, and it's called the Summer Essentials course, and that is a 2-week program. It's very intense. We do it the first 2 weeks of June. Some races do it in July, which is great because if Janet is going to Italy, let's for example,
Janet
and
is going to Italy.
are you? Oh, yeah.
Yes, it's so funny that you said that. My daughter and I are taking a 1-month trip, July, almost the entire month of July, shortly into August, and about a week of that is in Italy. So
Wow, that is
yeah, we're super.
awesome.
It's a trip we've been planning. She and I have been wanting to do this for 10 years since we about the time she graduated from high school. She's been out a little bit longer than that, but yeah. So it's funny that you said that because it's a trip of a lifetime. We're so excited about it. My poor husband, he's staying home and taking care of the dogs so that we can
Oh,
go.
bless him, bless him.
Yeah. Anyway, I totally derailed us, but yeah, so fun.
Well, so let's just say Janet is going to Italy during
Right,
the June Summer Essentials, and it is required by the PSC, this Summer Essentials program. It is intense, but we want Janet to go to Italy because she already booked it,
right.
and she doesn't wanna miss it, and we don't want her to miss it. Um, Another example is I had someone that their daughter was graduating from something in the military, and I was like, "No, you are not missing that." So,
Yeah.
what we do, all of us, Reese's, is we'll call or email and say, "Hey, Metro, for example, Risa in Atlanta, can you possibly take our sweet
Oh,
Janet?
nice.
She's going to
Nice.
Italy, but can you let her attend your essentials?" And a lot of times people have family, all over, and so it's worked out nice that we are flexible in that we help each other out to help the
Love
candidate.
that.
So we do that, but that 2 weeks is very intense, and it's where we go over our handbook. We go over, the portfolio. We have a panel of retired, principals come in and a lot of expertise. We have HR come in. We have, scenarios where we deal with classroom management and we let them role play. Well, how do you handle this if a child in fourth grade throws a chair? What are you going to do? um, we also do field experience. We partner with McDuffie County because Deering is in McDuffie County. That's where our RESA is. So we partner with them for summer school. So during the 2 weeks, 2 mornings, we go, the TAP teachers, and we go into a high school, a middle school, and an elementary school, whichever one their pathway is, and we let them assist the teachers that are, teaching during summer school. A lot of remediations going on,
Right,
um,
right,
and we knock out some of the requirements. One of them is, in-field, observations and out-of-field observations. So, no teachers don't wanna miss school, and their principals don't want them to miss school. So, we knock out about a day and a half of the 4, required days. we're able to knock that out, and the principals have given us lovely feedback, saying, "Thank you so much," and the teachers, love that too, so and we're right there, my team is there with them, uh, talking them through things, and then the teachers there in McDuffie County are wonderful, networking with them and collaborating with them.
There's a big difference between being supported by somebody who's walked in your shoes and someone who hasn't. At Lighthouse Therapy, our leadership team is made of experienced clinicians who've actually worked in schools. We understand the pressure you're under and what real support looks like. That's why our therapy solutions, whether it be virtual, hybrid, or in person, are built with you in mind. No complicated systems or red tape, just streamlined support and seasoned therapists who are ready to make a difference. Learn more at lighthouse-therapy.com/brighter together. Wow. It sounds like a lovely program. It really does. I mean, so what would you say, having done this for, would you say 5 years you've been doing this now?
4
4
years.
years? 4 years. So I'm somebody who's considering it, listening to this program or whatever, hearing about it, however they're hearing about it. What would you say are some things that they really need to consider if they want to leave the traditional workforce and go into education? What kind of, I don't know, what the word is. I don't know what the word is. Guidance or what, I don't know, that you would give them. It's not the word. I can't think of the word right now. It's driving me crazy, but anyway.
Well, if if we're looking at career changes, someone that is
Mhm.
not happy in a career and they wanna change and they know that they wanna go into teaching because we all know that teaching is so difficult. Um, and, I have mechanical engineers, I have nurses, I've had, so many walks of life that say, "Hey, I have a heart for teaching." So, what I would say to them is, if that is your heart, then we're gonna walk right beside you through this whole process. We're gonna help you, encourage you, we're gonna build the confidence that you need. Um, uh, and I always tell them, like, when I became the TAP director, I was like, "What?" A lot of us struggle and, with that confidence, but you learn and know when you have a circle of support is going to help you. The
Yeah.
same thing, and I use me as the example with my CSRA-RESA and my executive director, who I can't do my job without her supporting me, but, um, I just think that they do it because I've just had a nurse, and another thing, CTAE is a little different. Um, the allied science class, if you have a, associate's degree, you don't have to have a bachelor's degree there if you've got your license and if you've had
What's CTAE? Tell us what that is.
so CTAE is career tech. Agricultural classes, drama,
Okay.
dance, food, and, those are all trades that are lacking right now, and we
Oh, yeah.
try to
Mhm.
encourage, kids to go that pathway even in high schools. We need
Mhm.
electricians and we need welders um
Right.
so a lot of the high schools now have an LPN program where they are actually becoming CNAs when they graduate from high school because they go through this allied healthcare science course. This particular teacher that I'm thinking of, she decided she wanted to teach and she took a big pay cut to do so, but she is extremely happy. She just graduated from Georgia Tap. She did not have to take the GACE. There's certain
Oh, okay.
circumstances, mainly in just that
Wow.
CTAE field. I know we had a dance teacher at a middle school that did not have to take the GACE. So we get our guidance, of course, from the PSC, but um, back to your question, anyone that wants to change the career and go into teaching, they're gonna get this circle of support to take care of them. And,
Mhm.
grace, we really talk about, glow and grow in our program with their observations. Everybody needs to grow and get better, and but also we focus on, okay, you really did this well, and building up their confidence for them.
Awesome. And the word I was looking for was advice, which is exactly what you just did. It was driving me crazy. I'm like, why can't I'm a speech therapist and I'm word finding. Oh my goodness. So Oh, I don't like getting old, Lisa. I don't recommend it. Don't do it.
I know, right? I'm trying not to do it either, Janet. I am fighting to keep these 4 grandsons, so
Oh, good for you. You've got grandkids. I don't have any yet. I keep telling my kids, come on, guys, get with the program here. I want to retire and have grandbabies just to
I
be with my
know.
grandbabies. We're not quite there yet. Instead, my daughter's dragging me to Europe, which is fun. It'll be fun. But yeah. So, well, it just sounds like such, do you know, Lisa, are there other states that are doing similar programs? Are you aware of, I know you obviously know about Georgia, but are there other states that are doing similar?
I don't know if they are, but I know that, there are some trends with different names they're calling it.
Yeah.
Um, so, I it's
I know there's things going on in Michigan. I've heard about some. I've had people on the show who've talked about, things they're doing to try to grow their own. The same thing,
right.
like get the kids going into education out of high school and helping them, or taking the paraprofessionals that they have
Yes.
and helping them to get their teaching degree. I've heard about those kinds of programs, but I love this because these are people from all walks of life who come to you with so much knowledge in another area because they've already had a career. I love that because, then you've got, and I'll tell you, as an SLP, that's I've done over half of my career has been education, but the other half of it wasn't. So I did traumatic brain injury and I did rehab and I did skilled nursing. And all of those things are things people say, what would you change? And it's like, well, there's nothing I would change because all of those things led me, even the mistakes, people wish they could fix their mistakes, but every single mistake I've made has made me the person that sits here today and is grateful because God brought me through the mistakes, right?
Yeah.
But you've got to walk through those things to be able to, and you recognize things better in kids because you've been there, done that, got the t-shirt, right?
Right.
So it's really, it just sounds like such a great program. And I love the fact that it makes it easier. It's like, one of the things I've been talking to people about lately is, when can education, secondary education, become more about what you want to do and less about getting every single credit that the school thinks that you have to have? And, so that you can, let's fast track some of these things so people can, instead of carrying this $100,000 worth of debt because you got all these credits that you're never going to use.
Sure.
People will argue with me about that. I know they will, and that's fine. But it just seems like it's just a wise way to get, and there's such a need. There's such an incredible need.
Well, and you made an excellent point about paraprofessionals because Imma tell you, nothing warms my heart when one of 2 of our districts had what they called Grow for, say, Burke County, for example, internally looking at paraprofessionals who have bachelor's degrees and who
Mm,
aren't making what they should
yeah, that
be
doesn't.
making.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
growing within, and so what they've done is, because Georgia has a federal grant money for paraprofessionals to transition into the classroom. And so I think we had like 11 that became classroom teachers, and then they get all the money that they've paid to tap, reimbursed to them.
Oh, beautiful,
So it's
beautiful.
been wonderful to see districts grow within, because they do have a passion. They didn't have the funding to be able to
Right.
pay for that.
Yeah, and it's such a critical critical need, and to have people that love, I mean, you have to love teaching to be in this profession. It's not it's not an easy job at all, but it's a beautiful job though when you do it, and you serve you just, I think you have a servant's heart. You have a servant's heart, and you love people, and you just help the kids. And there's nothing more beautiful, if you're not an educator, to see that light bulb moment when that child gets what you've been trying and trying and trying to help them to understand that concept. And then it's just, I don't know. I don't know how you even put it into words when that happens. It's so great.
Well, when I first started teaching, my mentor, and I had a great mentor, she said to me, and I've never forgot this. She said, out of all the professions that God chose for his own son, Jesus, teacher was the one.
Mm,
And yes, he was a healer and many other things, but teaching was that primary purpose. And
yeah.
he instilled us to do that as well. And I've just never forgot the magnitude of what she said to me that day on when I was starting my first year. And I was like, this is really, really, really important. And, as you get older and you have grandchildren, you really just see the importance of educating our kids and the equity
Yeah.
of everyone. Districts deserve the best education. And, you know,
Yeah, when you talk about the Great Commission, I'm just sitting here going, "Oh, I never thought about that. That's so cool because go and make disciples of all nations." And that is teaching. That is
yes.
absolutely teaching. It's just like, and that's what he called us to do, is to go and disciple others, teach them and show them what we have that they don't have. And how do you do that? You teach them, that you teach them about God, you teach them about Jesus, you teach them about grace and the love of Christ. And as I said in the beginning, I never back down from my faith because it's such a huge part
Well,
and it's so important.
teachers by nature too, I find are lifelong learners. Like we
Yeah.
always, which is, another reason I'm where I am now and not at home full time, but it's like in Second Peter, and I want to say it's chapter 3:18, but it's we are always when Jesus says, I think it was grow in the grace and knowledge and
Mhm.
in Jesus. And I've always thought, comparing with how that relates to teaching, that we are lifelong learners. We should always strive to be better, not only getting closer to Jesus, but in education, that we always should try to get better and better for our kids. And
Teaching them, and
yeah,
yeah. Oh, beautiful. That's beautiful. It's so true. So, so true. And when you love what you do, it's not work. I don't go to work every day. I get to do this. I get to be the CEO and founder of Lighthouse Therapy. I get to be a podcast host. I get to talk to amazing people like you because it's just, and I get to tell the stories. I get to be in the center of so many beautiful stories of people that just love what they're doing, love education, and want what's better for, without somebody telling them they're doing a cruddy job, or ridiculing them or whatever, because we hear so much of that. And so it's such a blessing to be able to be the podcast host that gets to do that. So I am so grateful.
well, and I
So
appreciate your work because I've listened to some of your podcasts, and it's coping skills nowadays. It's hard, and when I was a administrator through COVID, I saw we were one of the very few districts that stayed in school, and it was hard. It was
yeah,
hard, and then, there were times, I'm being honest, that I said, Am I keeping my teachers safe? Am I keeping these kids safe?" And, taking these big machines and, going through the school buses and doing things that I didn't know. And I just prayed every day, God, I want the kids to learn. And some of our kids aren't eating if they're not at school. And
right. Yeah.
So it was really hard, but I remember telling the kids, you know, life is always going to throw things at us, and we're not exempt from suffering. And there's always going to be things that happen, and for us to model this is really hard and being honest and saying I'm scared, but we're going to get through this together and cope with it. And that's something I feel like, we talk to the teachers a lot about that we have to teach them coping skills too because they
Mhm.
can't give up and just stop.
Yeah. Yeah. When the going gets tough, the tough get going. That's what my
Yes.
mama used to always say. She was the queen of cliches, and there's so many, and that's a great one that has just stuck with me. So, well, Lisa, it has been such a pleasure. I want to give you an opportunity to plug your program and plug. We've been talking about it, but where do people go to if they want to find out more information about the TAP program?
So they would go to our website, CSRA-RESA, and they'll find a Georgia Tap link on there. Or you can Google CSRA-RESA Georgia Tap, and it will come up straight to the Georgia Tap program for us. Um, and I think I've plugged a great deal for my program,
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
I mean, I'm very passionate about it. And like you said earlier, I feel honored to get to do this job. I know it's a great responsibility, and I get to give back, as you said, to a community that invested in me because I'm a product of one of the 11 districts that I serve. So
Nice.
I
Very
don't take
nice.
that lightly that they invested and poured into me. So, I
Mhm.
want to give back to this community. And I think I said this earlier too, the power of the support system that we offer. Uh, you're, I, I've not had teachers say, I don't feel supported through Georgia Tap.
Right.
So that makes me happy.
Right.
Yes, they say it's hard. It's hard. It's hard. And I don't have time to upload and do, attend your seminars. But I never hear them say that they're not supported. So
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the same thing with like Brighter Together. It's us giving back, giving people a voice and giving them an opportunity to talk about what's happening in education because every single thing, every single person that I talk to, when you look at the collective, it just embodies the name of the podcast, which is Brighter Together, because we are brighter together because of all of the work that's being done out there. And so thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for telling us about your passion and what's happening and just keep it up. I'm excited for more for you guys. Absolutely. So thank
thank
you.
you. Thank you for having me.